let's do the why we are here today.
Okay.
In these amazing studios in Doncaster. So Genuit Group, which I doubt very much before I phoned you last week you will have heard of, and that's fine, but I know you will have heard of Polypipe.
Yeah.
Genuit Group, we have a real ambitious, very heartfelt, authentic ED&I strategy. And in its basic format, what we're saying is we acknowledge we are going to be better with a diverse team of talented employees, and we want every single one of those 3,500 roughly to bring their whole self to work every day, and we will take care and nourish and grow them. Pride in June is a calendar event that we will mark in Genuit. And this year we are coming at it from an education piece. So we came at International Women's Day very much around, yes, the celebration of women in business, but equally more about questioning stereotypes and looking around our business and saying, where are we still making some little mistakes with some clumsy stereotypes? And we had a great event. We're facing into Pride when we sit down together as a working group and we're like, how do we want to do it this year? And we said, you know what? We want to raise the awareness and break down the stigma and give our employees an opportunity to learn and understand in a safe way. So what we've done inside, we created an anonymous portal, if you will, a place for every single one of our employees to just go on and in a very raw and unapologetic way ask the questions about the whole world of Pride, LGBTQ. We're going to cover it all. And they submitted the questions. They came through anonymously. I have them here. I can't do you justice. So introduce yourself. Jenny Dewsnap.
Yes.
By day?
By day, I am an event manager, and I always say that I have a day job and a gay job. My day job is event manager. I deliver large events. So I'm chair of Doncaster Pride. Doncaster Pride is a registered charity, and Doncaster Pride was established in 2007 by myself and a small group of people who got together in the back room of a pub called Bar NY down in the market and decided we were going to do a Pride event. I'd been asked to be there and help out, and we're just about to deliver our 18th Doncaster Pride.
And we are going to come on to Doncaster Pride later, so we've got a little bit of an exciting announcement, I think. Yeah. So we opened up the floor to questions from our employees, and they asked. All right?
Excellent.
I'm going to fire some at you.
Okay.
And then some, I think, need some conversation, because I think there's some real wholesome learning. We've got topics.
Good.
I think we're going to start with a really exciting one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Pronouns.
Pronouns.
Fabulous. Why are people asking for pronouns?
People are asking for pronouns because they want to be recognised that not everyone fits into a gender stereotype of she, her, he, or whatever. There are lots of people who feel that they don't necessarily fit nor conform to those regular pronouns. And feel that they want to express themselves as being something other than gender feminine or masculine. Okay. And it's about recognising really that we all have choices. We all have the opportunity to be ourselves. And you talked about, people coming to work and being themselves. If they want to identify as something other than the gender or the appearance that, you and I, she, yeah. I think that's pretty obvious. But I might say, well, actually, I really want to use a different pronoun. I prefer to be, I might be non-binary. I might want to use a they, them pronoun. And I think, sweep away all the complications of this. The answer to the question is people just want to be recognised for who they are.
Okay. Go back a step for me. Non-binary.
Okay.
What is it?
Non-binary is when someone, binary is, there are two genders. Yep. There's male, there's female.
Right.
And when someone believes that they are neither one or the other, then their terminology they may adopt is non-binary.
So I think this leads on to this question perfectly. Who wants to be referred to as they, them?
It varies. Sometimes it is people who are non-binary. There are lots of different things here, and we could have this conversation for hours. There's a medical term, and it's more common than people may think. Occasionally, when babies are born, they have signs of both genders, or it's unclear whether that child is male or female. And
That's
often
gonna be
what
rare.
happens, it's more common than you think. It's more common than you think, and so an assigned gender at birth. Yeah, they are assigned this child is male. And it may well be that when that child grows up, that child may develop breasts or may have internal female organs. Right. But also, and it is actually quite common. I don't know any statistics, but it happens.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes people may decide, in terms of non-binary, people want not necessarily to conform to wanting to be classified as male. It's a choice. Yeah. And we have to respect that people have the choice to be what they want to be. I don't always understand, and I think some of the non-LGBT community are very confused by it. Don't be. If you get it wrong, if you misgender someone, or you don't use the correct pronoun, it is not your fault. Ask the question if you feel you need to. If you get it wrong, acknowledge that you've got it wrong, apologise and move on. Yeah. We're not here to blame people for getting things wrong if they don't understand. I'm not sure that the LGBT community really wanted to push forward the whole pronoun debate in the way that it's now been adopted, and it's now something that people feel they have to do. Nobody wants to make people have to do anything. This is all about personal choice, and this is about lots of companies. I don't know whether you do in Genuit, people's emails, your signature on your emails may have your pronouns on. Great if you do. Equally, if you don't, that's a decision that people need to make. But ultimately, going back to the beginning question, why pronouns? Because people want to be recognised for who they are, and they want the right to be addressed in the correct way. And we should respect them for that.
Picking up on something you said, it's really interesting. And Alexis, who should have been here today, I'm now all over her Instagram because it's just fascinating. And she put a video on there the other day, and there was an interview. Vanessa Phelps was in the middle. There was another lady, and the individual that they were interviewing came on, and in a really clunky way said, "Oh, before we start the interview, can I ask you pronouns?" And the ladies really took offence, and some of them were like, "What? You don't need to ask my pronouns." Yeah. And you use the terminology if you feel you need to ask.
Yeah. I'm not offended. If anybody asks me, I'm not offended. But I would also say, why ask? Why are you asking? Yeah. And I think people appear the way that they dress. They appear in whatever way they want to appear. And if you feel the need to ask, and if someone wants to, I wouldn't dream of asking you, can I just check what your pronouns are? Yeah. I would make an assumption, and that might be a wrong assumption, but I would make an assumption that you are she, her. If that is not the way you wish to be acknowledged, then you correct me, I would apologise, and we would move on. But I think asking as a matter of course, when we've talked about this at work, you're around a table of people, maybe people you've not met before, you're in a social situation. Is it the first thing to do when you're in an environment of people who all appear to be gender conforming, not male, female? Do you need to ask that question? Yeah. And I get why people think, well, actually, no, you don't need to ask that question. Which I think is what Alexis was saying in the blog. I think that was probably what she was saying.
Really good question. So which pronoun should I use with someone known to be transitioning, but they haven't declared the preference? What's the right question to ask to understand?
Well, the easiest thing to do, as you said, is ask. You can ask them their pronouns. We have there are lots of transitioning people who will, the moment they identify. So we'll use Alexis. We've been talking about Alexis. Let's use Alexis. Alexis was born male, and Alexis decided to transition. And Alexis, the point at which Alexis started to live as a female, Alexis is she, her. And will continue to be she, her, and does everything in her power to appear as a feminine she, her, because that's what she wants. But that's her preference. Yeah. Other people may decide transition male to female. The point at which they start living as a female, they may want to use the they, them pronouns. It's personal choice. And I'm sorry, there isn't a straightforward answer to the question other than ask. You won't be getting anything wrong if you ask. Yeah. It's easier to ask. People will be glad if you say, can I just check what are your pronouns? Yeah. People won't be offended.
Do you think first, though, check why you're asking?
Yeah.
It's like, why? So,
yeah.
We have, so in Genuit, we've just got a new HR system, if you will. And in there's the functionality to add your pronouns, like you can also add them on your email signature. Question from one of our employees is, I don't want to add my pronouns, but I am not against LGBTQ in the community. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
It's fine, yeah.
In the same way as people are making a choice to ask to use a different pronoun, you also, as a non-member of the LGBT community that is female, born female, and lives as a female and isn't part of the LGBT community, you have a right to not do that. This is the bottom line in all of this, is to respect each other, respect each other's choices, and give each other the opportunity to be who they are. And by forcing onto someone who doesn't want to use a pronoun in their email signature, I would say no. Don't do that. You don't think you have a right to force them to do that. And they need to have their own rights protected to be who they want to be and express that. Don't need a pronoun, thank you.
I think my takeaway is, why are you asking?
Yeah.
Why are you asking in the first instance?
Yeah.
Pronouns done.
Okay.
Let's be honest, easier than I thought it were going to be.
Well, yeah, it is a minefield, and this is part of the problem with this is why I'm so glad and so grateful to have the opportunity to have this conversation, because when people don't understand things, they're afraid of it. They don't want to ask the question because they don't want to offend anyone. And I think if you take away anything from today, ask the question. Yeah. Because if you don't understand, then as a member of the LGBT community, as someone involved in a pride, my job is to educate in exactly the same way as you're educating the workforce, because with education comes understanding, and with understanding comes, it's a word I don't really like, but tolerance. Yeah. I don't want to be tolerated particularly, but but I think only when people understand, they can make an informed decision themselves about accepting, understanding, tolerating, and just moving on. Yeah. Just let's move on from this.
And I think that's why we're here. And, and I'm blessed that I am here sat with you, and what an amazing opportunity for our employees. And they've asked, these questions are raw. They are, and they're unapologetically blunt in some places. But we'll make that safe, and we'll make that fine. Moving on.
Next
this
question.
Is a hot one.
Go on then. Let's see.
We're going to tackle LGBTQ+.
Okay.
And I think let's break it down.
Yeah.
Just so. L.
Lesbian.
Women.
Yes.
Clean. Got it. G.
Gay.
Men.
Yes, but some women, myself included, refer to myself. I very rarely use the term lesbian. I refer to myself as gay. But yes, in the LGBT acronym, it is gay, as in gay men.
Why?
Don't know. Just prefer it.
Do you?
There's lots of things around labels. I've been campaigning for equality within the LGBT community for, a long time, nearly 30 years. My generation fought to do away with labels. I don't want to be a label. I'm not a jar. I'm not, I don't want a label. I just want to be me and be accepted for who I am. And I think this is part of the answer to the question. Some people call themselves gay. gay woman, gay man. There are lots of terminologies. We'll come on to, I'm sure, queer and all sorts of things in a bit.
Have you seen my questions?
But if you were to say, if I was in a conversation with someone who had never met before, and the question came up, I would refer to myself as gay.
You would say you're gay, not lesbian.
Yeah, I would. Don't know why, but I would.
And I think, actually, when I hear it, there's something softer about gay than lesbian.
Yeah.
But, right, we've done L, B.
Bisexual. Bisexual is a male or a female who has an attraction to both sexes. Yeah. So they may form a loving relationship, they may form a sexual relationship or whatever with someone of the same sex or the opposite sex.
Okay.
And not, can we just be clear, bisexuals are not greedy. That is an insult. A bisexual person is someone who can feel attraction to both sexes. And often is referred to in the media as, oh, just make your mind up. You need to make your mind up. You're either one or you're other. You're not. Some people can be that.
But in the same vein that, you don't, if you are heterosexual and you don't necessarily have one person all your life.
No.
I mean, you've been greedy. That just means.
Yeah.
T.
Trans.
Go.
So, male to female, female to male. Lots of the trans community go through a transition. Many of them have surgery, many of them don't. Some of them might be a genetically born male, lives as a woman, but doesn't go through hormone treatments or surgeries. And likewise, female to male. It's personal choice. They may just want to live live as a woman or as a man, or they may fully transition. But trans is an overarching. Used to be transgender. No. It used to be transsexual.
Yeah.
Not transsexual. Transgender, trans is where we are now. Transsexual is a term that we stopped using a number of years ago.
Why?
Because of the use of the word transsexual. It's not about the sexuality. It is about gender. There's a big difference. LGB is about sexuality. T is about gender.
LGB
is about sexuality. Yep. Okay.
Who you're attracted to, who you fancy.
Let's unpick it a little more then. So, lesbian. I am genetically born female. I am attracted to, in a loving and sexual way, to other females. Yep. So that is a sexuality issue. Yep. My gender is not in question. Yeah.
Born female, happy female.
Happy female. Don't want to be a man.
In love with a woman.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. And so trans is different. Trans is not about who you might be attracted to. A trans person is a person who believes they are in the wrong body, for example, is a term that's often used. It's a little bit, not really a great term.
But we get, and that would be, so to roll that one, to use you because you're awesome and you're here, if you were trans, you would have been born female, but wanted to be male,
yes,
or have male desires, yes, for you personally. It's more of a looking inwards, the T.
It's more about who you are.
Yeah.
It's about the skin you're in and the person you are. It's not about who you're attracted to or who you feel that you want to be in a relationship with. It's not about physical attraction or a loving relationship. It doesn't have to be a sexual relationship. Lots of straight people, lots of gay people are in relationships with members of the same and the opposite sex that are not sexual. So let's move away from that, from the start. So lots of people feel an attraction and a connection to the same sex. That is a sexuality issue.
Over trans, the LGB.
Trans is not. Trans people, oftentimes, trans is not about it's not anything to do with who they're attracted to. It's to do with themselves.
It's the skin you're in.
Absolutely.
Love that. Q.
Q has been more than one thing, and I do here and now apologise to everybody for the confusion that the gay community and the LGBT plus community, the LGBTQ plus community, bring to the party. You've seen this morning, I've tripped up over a couple of references to different things. We often find it confusing ourselves, so I apologise. Q was originally questioning. And has been used as that for a number of years. Questioning is someone who is not really sure how they feel. It's a question. Not really. It's not really a thing. It was used for some time, was the Q. Q is, for me, and is now accepted widely, Q is queer.
And I have got a whole load of questions about queer, as you can
Excellent.
imagine. Plus, because it wasn't complicated enough.
We put the plus on.
Put the plus
and
on
often, and do you know what? You're not going to get it wrong. So don't be afraid of, I need to put a Q in there. I need to put, there are lots. You've probably seen LGBTQIA.
I saw that last week and I just thought, I'm trying to keep up.
So the plus kind of helps. And, let's go back to the beginning. I'd said for years and years, I campaigned not to have a label. And I worry a little bit that the community, and I often refer to it as the gay community, because for me, that kind of sort of encompasses the gay side.
Yeah.
It doesn't take account of the T side, clearly. But the reason, as more and more people, as we explore people's sexuality and gender, and as we explore our rights to be different and be recognised as different, we've gotten into a place of wanting to put a name on everything. And all of those people are equally valid and equally need to be recognised. So whatever people feel is their sexuality or their gender preference. And it's not just sometimes easy to say, you're a gay woman, you're a lesbian. Sometimes there's other things, other characteristics that people feel that they have. And do you know what? People have a right to be recognised as whatever they want to be. I think the problem that we have with this ever-increasing alphabet of letters is that we confuse the community. Ourselves sometimes are confused. And we absolutely, without any doubt, make it difficult for people to understand. And that's where people get afraid to get it wrong. Mm-hmm. So don't worry about getting things wrong. Don't worry about the letters you use. What's more important is that you are open and accepting of people to be who they want to be. That's where it needs to be. So all the other letters, they're all there, and there's a reason why. And we've got these lovely pull-up banners here now. We've got a pull-up banner that's got all the different flags on it. And we've got all the explanations, and you can Google it and you can look at all the different characteristics, and there are many. Yeah. But this is where the plus encompasses everyone. So don't worry too much about getting it wrong. Don't worry about the letters you use. Just be recognised as an individual or a business or a community that says, do you know what? We don't really mind. We're just accepting. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No.
Right. So, question 1 on my LGBTQ plus card. It's a mouthful. No more. I can't do it anymore on end. LGB.
Yeah.
And TQ.
Yeah.
Are they different things? I think we've covered it off.
Okay.
In a really
Q is separate. Let's leave Q separate because, we've said LGB, sexuality. T, gender. Q, queer, can be anything. And this is the term, and this is why I love the word queer, because it's easy. Let's all just say we're queer, because then it covers everything. But there are people who don't like that.
So
contentious.
Is the term queer offensive? So 43 years old.
Yeah.
For generational positioning.
Yes.
If going through school, secondary school, I'd call somebody queer, that would have been a slur.
Yes.
I would have got done for that. That was offensive.
Yes, absolutely.
And then all of a sudden one day, it's on the end of the LGBT and...
Yeah.
Is it offensive?
Some people are offended by it still, and that tends to be older members of the community who may, like you, have been brought up in a time when the use of the word queer was offensive. However, people like me, and I'm considerably older than you, I love it because, and the rationale, I guess, behind using the Q, it can't be an insult if you own it. So let's just embrace the colourfulness and the variety of sexuality and gender and attraction and love and all. Let's embrace all of these things under one simple word: queer.
Well, aren't we all then?
I think we probably are.
Well, although I got corrected yesterday because there's a thing getting thrown in there about ADHD, and lackadaisically some people will say, oh, we've all got a bit of ADHD, and there's this person like, no, ADHD is serious. You know, if you've got ADHD, then you really have got certain characteristics and you'll suffer in certain ways. Are we all a bit queer? You know, I chose to put this on this morning. You put that word different. Is it not just another phrase for different?
Yeah, I think what we want to do is, as a community, we want to be. It's not about validation. It's about recognition. It's about not everybody conforms to the gender stereotypes of male, female, when you boil it down. And I'll give you an example. I've been in a situation where I've gone with my girlfriend or wife, it's happened more than once, and gone into a situation where people have assumed, certainly with my wife, people assume we have the same surname, we're sisters. No. Yeah, we're not. I've been in a situation where I've gone to check into a hotel with my wife and the receptionist has said, oh, ladies, you've been given a double. Let me see if I can find you a twin. Yeah, it's clumsy. And what we're trying to do as a community through the education is to say, don't automatically assume that because I'm with a woman who has the same surname as me, that she's my sister. And this is generations and generations and hundreds of years of conditioning that we have two genders and we have two and standard sexuality for everybody is man and woman. And it's not.
Stood at the reception check-in desk. Ladies, apologies. Let's see if I can get... Are you offended?
Not really. I'm more amazed that somebody can make that mistake, really, because they need to really think about that. It's a clunky mistake to make, particularly now. I could have understood that years ago, but not now. Am I offended? Probably a little bit, but what I am is more because of who I am, I guess. And my wife hates this, I think, about me. Is I'll then challenge rather than just shrugging my shoulders.
And there's a big queue behind your reception and you're going in for the fight.
Rather than then shrugging my shoulders and thinking, I will say, actually, do you know what? This is my wife and we actually quite like sleeping in the same bed. And said receptionist then goes bright red, realises she's made a mistake, and maybe hopefully won't do it again. That's probably not a really great example of my tolerance of people, but and maybe there's a better way to educate people to actually say, do you know what, we might be quite happy in the same bed, you know.
Do you think it's just a very simple, naive, unconscious stereotype bias?
Absolutely.
She meant no offence.
The whole of our society is built around male, female, man loves woman, woman loves man, that's that. And what we're saying is, and this is all about the letters and the terminologies and all of the things that we talked about, and really the reason why Pride exists is to say that's not actually the reality that we live in. And we just want to be recognised that there is more than that.
Who do you truly look for in LGBTQ as allies? And what does allyship mean to you, I guess?
That's an interesting question. For me, the most important allies are people who are not part of the LGBT community. So people like you, people like members of my family, people who I work with, friends, people who don't think anything of and don't even question and support and come out with their Pride T-shirts on Pride Day, or proudly wear a Pride badge, or proudly put a rainbow flag somewhere, because they're saying that they accept and they speak for us. I don't think that people within the LGBT plus community are allies. We may be allies for each other in other in other ways, but I think the most important ally right now in the UK for us as an LGBT community are straight folk. We are not afraid to demonstrate, many of us. There's lots of people that are not like me, but you're not afraid to demonstrate and speak up. And sometimes people get sexuality and sex mixed up. Just because my sexuality is not conforming to a gender stereotype of male-female doesn't mean that I'm a rampant sexual pervert.
And you say that you articulate it so well, the steps that people make really quickly from the gay community to...
Yeah, but your sexuality is under question, so you're gay. Therefore, you must be promiscuous. Therefore, you must be a pervert. Therefore, you're probably a paedophile.
4 steps to a paedophile
Wow.
is a bit scary.
And do you know what? It is really scary. Yeah. But it does happen. And people make assumptions. I've had people talk about Pride in Doncaster, which I know we'll come on to in a bit. I once was said, "Oh, we don't want your sort cavorting around." Oh, really? Your sort? Yeah. It's weird the way that some people make these leaps of
scared.
Of
Do you think they're scared?
Scared? Or they just don't know. It's different. Yeah. It's not what they're used to. It's not what they know. It's not what they understand. Therefore, it's weird.
Okay. Now, we definitely said we weren't going to cover off religion because that is a whole other chat.
Topic.
However,
but let's go.
We've got one. So, how should we deal with opposing views held by different groups of the community that disagree with LGBTQ, e.g., Orthodox Christians or Islam, who would hold the belief that anything other than heterosexuality is a sin?
It is a very thorny subject. A few things that I would say is that I was married in church. I married my wife. We have laws in this country that do allow same-sex couples to marry in certain churches. And I married in church not because I'm necessarily hugely religious, although I was raised in a family. I went to a church school. I went to church a lot as a child and fell out with religion in my teens, probably because of my sexuality and feeling that I didn't belong there anymore. But I married in a church because people have fought for the rights to be able to do that. And having the Christian church, in certain parts of the Christian church, accept same-sex marriages in church, I felt that I should do that. And when Jodie and I decided to get married, there was no question in our minds that we would marry in church. Other communities, other religions. What's interesting is if you look at photographs of Doncaster Pride, you will see a complete range of ages, genders, religions, skin colours. Everybody that I know refers to Doncaster Pride as the most unique opportunity for everyone to come together. And we talk about celebrating our similarities, not our differences. Yeah. I don't believe that human beings, because they belong to a particular religious group, should not identify as who they want to identify. And I recognise that's very difficult for some communities. But we're blessed. We're really, really blessed in Doncaster. We have a very good relationship. We will have, at this year's Pride event, we will have the Muslim community at Pride event. We will have...
Which must be a brave move.
Absolutely.
And I'd say, so Genuit has a location, a site, a business entity in the Middle East.
Yep.
Not an option.
Absolutely not. And when when Jodie and I sit down and decide where we're going to go on holiday, we have to consider, can we go to that country? Is it safe for us to be there? There are certain places that you wouldn't go. We know that that's the way it is in certain parts of the world. But we're blessed. We've got some very forward-thinking representatives of the Muslim community in Doncaster who have worked with us. They walk with us in the parade in Doncaster. They march with us visibly. This year they will have a stall. And it's not just the Muslim community. There's lots and lots and lots of other minority communities. We were on Elmfield Park, for people who know Doncaster. There's a lot of the Asian community live around Elmfield Park. During the build-up of Pride in the last couple of years, we had a lot of people coming to us and saying, what's happening, what are you doing? Are we allowed to come? Can we bring our children? And a lot of these were Muslim families. And we said, yes, you are welcome to be here. Please come. And they did. And they loved it. And that's the only way we will break down barriers between communities, is actually by opening our arms and welcoming people.
Great question. How, we touched on allies, how can I be a good ally to members of the LGBTQ community?
Obviously, you know, you can wear your Pride badge. You've got a lovely one there. I think it's more than that. I think what it is you are aware of instances where other people don't share that allyship view. Call them out. Yeah. That's what I'd ask people. What would
calling out look like to you?
People's assumptions, people vocalising things that are homophobic views, for example, or oh, I don't agree with Pride, or oh, I don't understand this, or why can't they just, when straight Pride? That's my favourite question ever. Are we having that one?
No.
Ah,
when is straight Pride?
365 days of the year is straight Pride. You know, when people make these blasé comments, is she a man or a woman? Can you tell? All of these horrible, horrible comments that we all hear them. We hear them day in, day out in very different situations. Stand up and do the right thing. And if you share the view that you are an ally to the LGBT community, then the best thing you can do is stand up and share those views where other people question it.
And we, in Genuit, we've just launched our trademark behaviours, and in an endeavour to get that to grow, we have a terminology called call it in. So if you see somebody do something good, or you see somebody behave in a way that's aligned to our trademark behaviours, you would call it in and say, you know what, I've just seen you demonstrate that, that's great. And then in a little bit more of a private, so you'd probably do that publicly because you'd embrace the progression. And in a more private way, you'd call out something that was anti that. So it's the kind of the same thing, you know. Yeah. Not in a safe question that view. Why are you saying that? Why do you believe that? Do you understand? Have you and that's the best thing I think an ally can do is question people who don't share that view. Help us to educate. Next subject. Oh, go okay. You ready? I'm ready. The flag. Oh, okay. My favourite subject. Is it? You brought me a flag. Where have I put it? It's lovely. All right. Do the community really appreciate the flag? Yes, I think we do. Obviously, my views are my views, and people, you know, you could have 15 different people sitting here from the community and they have 15 different views because we are all different. But for me, can we talk about the story of the flag? Let's talk about it. So, the original rainbow flag was designed by a guy called Gilbert Baker. And it was designed way back in the 60s, 70s, around about the time of the formation of the gay liberation movement in America. And the flag was a fairly traditional, what we would call a traditional rainbow flag, but it had a light blue, like a turquoise colour, and it had pink in it. No, not that pink. Like a shocking pink, hot I think pink. It was. Hot pink. Oh, right. Yeah. And each of those colours within the flag was meant to represent a different thing, and the flag was all-encompassing and embraced this umbrella of the LGBT community and all the letters and all the other things, and it represented everyone. And Gilbert Baker's flag is still, by many of us, myself included, is the thing that we love. The Gilbert Baker flag adapted over years into a more traditional 6-colour rainbow flag, Yep.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So it's not the rainbow as in a rainbow in the sky, because that's 7 colours. Yeah?
Right.
So what's interesting is that's the Gilbert Baker. Yeah, there you go. So the 6-colour rainbow flag, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, was what the LGBT community have used for a long, long, long time.
Yep.
And as the gay rights and LGBT rights movement progresses, and as society changes across the world and things become more important to certain groups, it was the right time a few years ago to recognise that the T bit of LGBT, so the trans community, were suffering some erosion of their rights. Right. We've gone so far with the trans community, and the fear factor within the trans community around government and legislation across the world has rolled back a little. And it was really, really, really important to come out as a community, the LGBT community, to come out more and support the T. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's been a big campaign around Pride with the T. Putting our efforts and energies into supporting the trans community. You roll it back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, the gay community fought for rights. Yeah, we fought for the rights to in workplace equality rights and all those sorts of things. We went through difficult times. We went through a lot of homophobia. We went through all of those things. And a lot of the gay-related stuff has progressed massively. Yeah. The trans community is now going through what the gay community went through some years ago. Right. The difficulties with legislation, the difficulties with understanding, the difficulties with being able to be themselves and live their lives and have acceptance in the workplace and let's not go there with the gender neutral toilets and all those sorts of things. I'm going there. You're going? Okay.
I'm going there.
So so it was really, really important to show a growing concern and support for the T community. So the rainbow flag, the 6-colour rainbow flag, had the pale blue, the pale pink and the white included in the new flag called the Progress flag. And the blue, the pink and the white is the trans flag. So it's really making a punchy statement. Yes, we're all one, together. But they are really, really important. Then again, around about the same time, the Black Lives Matter movement and the real need to show solidarity and show inclusion of people of colour, hence the black and the brown were added. Right. So I think the flag will continue to develop. I don't. Do you? I do, because I think as things. Colours, Jenny, no, I think things may move in and move out of that flag. I think it's not like the Union Jack. It's not like the Union flag. You know, we have a red, white, and blue flag, and that's it, and that's what we've always had. I think the rainbow flag for me represents a community that is changing, and the flag needs to grow with the times. The community needs, the community desires, the campaigns, the issues that affect the community change over time, and the flag's a representation of it. What an amazing way you've just explained the flag. And answered my next question. Why is the rainbow flag changed? So let me check my understanding and learning, because I have just real-time learning. Yeah, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 original colours. Yep. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Yeah. What was the guy's name? Sorry. Gilbert Baker. That's the original gay... That's the adapted Gilbert Baker. The Gilbert Baker had the pink in pink. And a turquoise line in there. The white, the baby pink and the baby blue is an acknowledgement of the trans community. That's the trans flag, yeah. And the brown and the black are bringing in the Black Lives Matter. Absolutely, yeah. Got it. Yeah. Got it, everybody? Got it. Yeah. And it'll change because things become... Well, because you like to keep us on our toes, absolutely. Just when we've learned. Yeah, but you know what? If you have a rainbow flag, if you have a 6-colour or a Gilbert Baker or a Progress flag, if you have it, nothing is wrong. So you're not going to get offended? No, I'm not going to get offended. I've just realised we've got no black or brown or baby pink. Doesn't matter.
Do the gay people, I'm all
You're
right
fine.
saying that,
No.
thank you, think rainbow flags hung around workplaces are tokenistic?
They can be. It depends on it's like the logo. It's the authenticity
Depends
of
what's
it
happening when
being
you get
there.
inside.
You know, you need to know where it's coming from. And I like to see it. Go back to my wedding. The Jode and I went to a rehearsal at the church before we got married, and the vicar said, "We're going to put some rainbow flags around the church," and I said, "Please don't."
Please don't, because my theme's
Yeah,
aubergine.
it's I love the rainbow flag, but I don't live wrapped in one, and I don't have one up on a pole in my house.
No?
It's there when it needs to be there to represent what it needs to
Celebration
represent.
moment, I guess. Yeah.
And I think organisations, members of the public, we hope Pride, when we get to Pride in August and Pride Month in June, we hope that people will put rainbow flags in their windows of their businesses, because it shows to us as a community that they are welcoming and they are understanding. Because even if their reasons for doing it are somewhat shallow, they're still doing it.
They're doing something.
So, yeah, I love the rainbow flag and I love the logo.
Thank you for the lesson on
You're
its
welcome.
evolution. Topic change.
Okay.
The workplace. So
All right.
this is a bit of a general set of questions. And we, obviously, this is the source of this is Genuit Group, and we'll be sharing it in our workplace. We are also, members of third-party bodies and industry bodies, and one of them is the Construction Coalition, and they may share this in their network for other businesses to learn from our awesome session with you, where you're really helping us. So a lot of general questions on the workplace. I know you didn't want to go to gender-neutral toilets, but I'm going there.
Okay, let's go there.
So I've got another religion one as well.
That's fine.
We'll do that one first.
We'll do that one.
How should or can I respond to people who object to LGBT because of religious reasons without causing further offence to them? And I guess this is coming from a place where we do have a very diverse workplace. And, it's in the spirit of asking everybody to bring their whole self, and we've kind of got to keep them safe. So we're going to have leaders in businesses or team members in our business who, within their team or within their peer group or within their sites, they're going to have members of the LGBT community mixed with, Jewish people, Christianity, Muslim. I'm guessing the questions around how can I respond to, a member of the LGBT community coming into the team or being around the team and conflicting religious views. Views, not reviews.
Yeah, I mean, cultural differences are rife in the workplace, whether it be between people who have a different sexuality, gender, or whether it's people who have a different religious belief. And I think, how perverse of any of us would it be to say, I'm fighting for my rights as a gay person, but you can't have your views that relate to your religion. I think it's about respect. I think we have to understand that we all, and that's all the LGBT community are asking really, is let's all just respect each other a little bit more. Let's all just understand that because something is important to me, my religion, my faith, my sexuality, the football team that I support, whatever it is, it doesn't mean that is right for everyone. So it's about a little bit more respect, a little bit more understanding. Yeah, ultimately, be kind.
Just be kind.
And the specific answer to the question, I suppose, is if you have a member, an open member of my mum refers to me as Doncaster's most out lesbian. I don't know how most out, you're out or you're not, but
you're right out there, Jenny.
But you've got someone who is openly gay comes into your team, and you have got people who there will be cultural differences. Yes. I think it is just about setting that from the beginning. Do you know what? We may not agree with each other's views, each other's lifestyles, each other's religions, but we're people. Yeah, I'm being gay, being Jewish or Christian or Muslim doesn't define you. We should
Still
all
Jenny.
be, absolutely. So celebrate your similarities. Don't worry about your differences.
Love it.
Work on being able to be more accepting of people having the right to be themselves.
Celebrate your similarities. Don't worry about your differences. I like it. And skin you in. I like that one as well. I'm going to try and do toilets in a question.
Go on.
Because the toilet questions are genuine, I can tell. All right, so what signs should we use on our toilets so they're inclusive? We've got what is the toilet etiquette for those on trans journeys? You might want to unpack that one separately. Is it right that people going through gender reassignment use a disabled toilet? Gender neutral toilets scare me. And I think if you come back at me and said why, I don't know if I could tell you. I just think they do. A while back there was some press, wasn't there, about the swimming baths, as they were, leisure centres have neutralised their changing areas, haven't they? And I think there was a concern and a spike for things that went on there. In the workplace, what's the best thing we can do with the toilets?
It's a thorny one. I'll start out by saying, do you have gender-neutral toilets at home?
Yeah.
You do?
I wish I didn't, though, because I've got a husband and an 11-year-old, and they're messy, right? I'd like a little ladies' toilet just for me. And then they can go and be boys in their toilets.
Yeah.
Yes, my toilets at home are free for everybody.
So,
But the private...
Yeah.
It's a one experience.
But okay, so you go to work, you need to go to the bathroom, you go comfortably out of a private environment at home where you have your mixed toilets. Out of that private environment, you're happy to go to the toilet with other women that you don't know, but not other men. Yeah. It's fine. I'm not questioning you. I'm just
but you're making me think.
It.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. You might be more, you might have male friends in the office, male colleagues in the office that you'd happily share a toilet with. This is now starting to feel that this is a little bit more about societal norms, that in the workplace you have a male bathroom and a female. And I think that's it's a respectful thing, and that's how we were, and that's how often people.
If you came to Genuit Group,
yeah,
this is one where we needed Alexis, right? Because it's raw and real for her. But I know you can cover it. You came to our workplace, or Alexis walked around our workplace. You've got male toilets and female toilets. In the first instance, nobody's taking offence by that.
No. I think where it becomes a problem is when, and you said it might be a separate question. Someone on a transition journey.
Yeah, and that's the question. The question as it's worded is, what's the etiquette?
So,
which I think is a lovely worded question. What's the toilet etiquette for somebody on a trans journey?
I think the question really is that the trans person should decide on what they want, and they should have the opportunity. But I would say if someone is living as, so again, we'll use Alexis. She won't mind. Alexis began her transition journey, and the first part of that transition journey was to live as a woman, so to dress as a woman. So at that point, no surgeries, no nothing, just dressing as a woman. And at that point, Alexis wants to be referred to as female, pronouns she, her, and she dresses and presents as a woman and does her damnedest and does it very well to look like a woman, feminine and So at that point, it is unfair and really very, very sad to expect that woman has to go in a male bathroom.
What about her going into the disabled toilet?
No, that's a cop-out. And it's an insult, really.
Yeah.
Because she's living as a woman. And I'm not really, we can talk about, you've said, tongue-in-cheek, boys are messy. Yeah, some girls are too.
Some girls are too. Listen, yes, absolutely. Stand corrected, I am. They are.
And I think where we're at here is, it is about respect and it's about choice. So gender-neutral toilets, where do I stand? Yes, I think they have a place. However, I also believe that people have a choice, and they should be allowed. What is the problem?
It's
What?
fear. Do you think
Yeah,
it's
I think it is.
fear?
But if really, what is the issue? Someone wants to go to the loo.
Yeah. It's a basic human need.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And if you are living as a woman, you may still, and you will at the beginning, you still will be genetically, you're a
Yes.
man. Yeah. You are on a transition journey. You are beginning that journey. You are dressing and living as a woman, and you're beginning a series of treatments and hormone therapies and counselling and a whole long process. The last thing you want is to worry about having to go to the toilet.
Where are you going to go to the toilet? Yeah. I think we did toilets okay. Actually.
Okay.
I feel like we could have gone on and on.
No.
There's some really lovely questions in here that I know have got a deep meaning to people. So everyone assumes, as I'm single, I'm looking for a partner of the opposite sex. I'm not. Any tips for people having to hide their true self at work? What's the terminology for it? Is it covering or
Yeah, it can be. I mean, there's all different sorts of things. People would not acknowledge. Do you know what the most difficult thing about coming out is? Firstly, is acknowledging it yourself. Once you acknowledge it yourself, then you're on a journey, really. I think having a supportive employer helps. I think things like this, where from a Genuit point of view, you want to make people feel that they can be themselves, but it's still a real big deal for some people because they've known their colleagues, they've known the people that they work with, that you go along with this. I've been there myself. When I first came out in the workplace, a lady that I'd worked with for many years, one day, shortly after I'd come out, I was in the lift and the lift stopped. The doors opened and she was waiting to get in the lift and she refused to get into the lift. I was like, why? What's your problem? And I did afterwards say to her, I'm really, I don't understand why we've been friends for years. You know me. Why? I'm just not really sure where I stand with you anymore. And I said, again, me being me, said, if you think I fancy you, I don't.
You're not my type.
But it's a genuine fear. Yeah. It is a genuine fear. And whoever's written that question,
brave.
Really, really brave. And if whoever, these questions are anonymous, but if whoever's written that question is listening to this video and you want to talk to me, get in touch. Layla can do that. Put us in touch, because it is a really, really difficult. You don't know the reaction you're going to get, and the fear becomes paralyzing. You cover everything. You disguise. You'll still sit and talk about, or even make up fictitious boyfriends, or all sorts of things. And you shouldn't have to feel like that. It's a very, very brave step sometimes for some people. Other people do it easily, really, really easily, and don't think twice. And it's just, that's a thing. But I hope we come to a point in our society and in our workplaces where someone's sexuality and gender is about as important as the colour of their hair. It really doesn't matter. And I hope that things like this can help move us to that situation where you can deal with those inner questions and those inner fears and help you to feel that you can confide in one person and maybe pick the person that you feel is really going to be your ally and confide in one person. And whoever's written that question, go talk to Layla. Yeah? Confide in one person. And once you start that process of telling people, it gets easier.
Similar themed question, and then I've got a second part because your help to us. So what's life like on a daily basis for someone who's got a fear of coming out in the workplace, which I think you've kind of just touched on. And then my secondary question to that is, what can we do as a workplace to make it safer so that we don't have employees? Because out of the 3,500 of them, there or thereabouts, if there's only one person how can we make it safe? So the question here is about what's it like on a daily basis, and I guess you went through this personally, so you can share it.
Yeah.
And then my ask is, what can we do to make it
Yeah,
safer?
it is scary, and because you're worried that someone will find out, or you'll say something, or something will be said, and you've got to all the time you're denying yourself, you're denying who you are. You don't want to be part of conversations that talk about things that are specific to being straight. I don't know what it is. Other people have got boyfriends and girlfriends and weddings. Someone's planning a wedding or whatever. You feel different. You feel on the outside. You feel like, I hope they don't find out, because I won't know how to react. And I was never asked outright. I was in the position where I took control. And at the point that I was ready, I came out.
On a personal one on that, when you came out, was there a population of people around you who went, yeah, we knew?
Yeah, my sister. My sister was one of the first people that I told. And she said, tell me something I didn't know. And it was such a relief. And that, I think, is what I'm saying. Find your ally. Find somebody who's going to say to you, and. I told my daughter, she was, well, at the point at which I sat down and had the conversation with her. And she said, and, so you find your ally, and find your voice, find that inner voice. What can you do? I think you're doing it. I think things like this is demonstrating that, firstly, a negative reaction in the workplace is not a welcome reaction.
Give me an example of a negative reaction in the workplace then.
Someone becomes aware that there's a gay member of the team, and without not employing any discretion in the matter, tells everybody else, oh, did you know, whatever. Right. This person then has been outed, probably not wanting to be. They've been hiding it, and all of a sudden, everybody in the team knows, and everybody's asking questions, pointing fingers, or whatever, or avoiding that person for some reason. That shouldn't be allowed to happen, and I think it's very difficult because people are quite sly, and there's a lot of stuff. When I came out before social media, and I'm really glad I did, because that's the real issue for young people these days, is the trolling and the issues and bullying and stuff. But I think as an employer, showing an open desire to want to learn more about how we become better at being inclusive, and how we make a workplace that is equal for everyone. I think you're demonstrating an environment where hopefully people will feel that if they have a negative reaction, that the employer would be on their side and support them.
And look, I hate the phrase "you're on a journey" is cheesy, isn't it? As an organisation, we are not going to get this right every day, but we are trying, and I think the intention is authentic, and there could be the movement of us all. Another question around the workplace, and I guess similar theme: why do you think individuals are still scared of coming out?
Oh, all sorts of reasons. Expectations, often from family and friends and people at work. I think they've seen other people have a negative... and also sometimes I didn't come out because I didn't want to, because I don't think in the very early days of me deciding... Is now a good time to talk about me?
Should we do you?
Okay. I think I always knew, but I believed that everybody was like me. When I was growing up, when I was a young teenager and a teenager, I believed that everybody, all my female friends, I believed felt the same as I did.
Which was what feeling?
That I I would have crushes, random crushes on women that I knew, teachers at school, friends, people off the telly.
Women in your life, yeah.
And I just thought that was normal and natural, and I thought everybody did that. I didn't realise that I was different to many of my other friends. And it was only as I got a little bit older that I actually understood that, you know...
How old?
Well, when I did that usual thing, you know, at school, I had boyfriends at school, and my friends were starting to, I guess probably about 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. Some of my friends were starting to get towards that point of a physical relationship, and it never really interested me. And I didn't, you know, I wasn't repulsed in any way, but you know, I just never really felt it. And I started to question myself, you know, well, clearly everybody's not like me. And I was afraid. And we're going back to, we are now in the early mid-80s, you know, early 80s. And I was afraid, and I didn't know anybody else that was like me. I didn't know anybody gay. I'd never met anybody gay. I knew that you know.
Yeah.
And I think, I always put it down to geography. Had I been born in a different part of the country, because I, many years later, met someone who was very similar age to me, had a similar journey, and lived in London. And as a 16-year-old, was openly out and had girlfriends. And a lot of this is about geography, because you put us back to the 80s, the end of the miners' strike
in
era.
South Yorkshire.
And in Doncaster. I was born and brought
mining.
up. Yeah, absolutely. I lived in Harworth, and it wasn't a thing. So there's a geography has some element to play here. Yeah. And I decided that actually, well, do you know what? And I kind of, over a period of time, came to the conclusion that I was a lesbian. But I was never going to do anything about it because I didn't know any other lesbians. How am I ever going to do it? And I'm afraid of this. And I didn't know what to do. So my decision was, I'm going to be normal. I'm going to be straight. I'm going to find a nice man and get married and have children and be normal, and everything will be fine. And I'll just not be a lesbian anymore.
Put that somewhere.
Yeah. And at that point, if you'd have offered me an injection or a pill that would have made me straight, I would have taken it. I would have had it. Wow. And I did exactly that. I met and married, and I wouldn't have married him had I not loved him. And I had 2 children, and we had a family, and everything was fine until all of a sudden, all of this stuff that I'd put behind me and said, I'm not going to acknowledge any of that. And it wouldn't go away.
Wanted out of the box.
It absolutely would not go away. And I should have been blissfully happy with a husband and a home and 2 children and a family life, and I wasn't. And the one thing that I knew that was making me unhappy was that I wasn't being me. I wasn't.
When you look back at the Jenny then, is it a bit of a outer body blur?
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
Who was she? Cause
that's
not
definitely.
You weren't the authentic self.
No. And occasionally, you know, you see photographs and things like that from years ago, and now. And I look at, you know, my family. I then made what I thought was a life-changing decision for everyone. And I knew that what was going to happen was potentially going to destroy everything. You know, my family life. I'd got 2 children. Kids get bullied for all sorts of reasons, but the last thing I wanted was my kids getting bullied at school because your mum's a dyke.
No, I had that one for a while. Does that still get thrown around?
Yeah.
We covered off faggots earlier, but I've not heard dykes.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind
We're going
that.
back on the old ones here.
And
how old
putting
were
yourself
you when all
first.
Your children?
Oh, I was in my very early 30s. I'll tell you exactly when I had the light bulb moment. New Year's Eve of the millennium. And I remember sitting and thinking to myself, as we were about to see in the new year, the year 2000, I remember sitting and thinking to myself, this time next year, things will be different. Wow. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew something had to change. So at that point, my children were 7 and 6 and 3. And as a mother, I guess the same as a parent, but certainly from my point of view, as a mother, putting my desires first was a very alien thing for me to do. And doing something that was going to change the life of everybody that I knew was such a massive step. And it took me a long time to do it. And this is what I say. I spoke to my sister. I remember standing in the kitchen in my old house and telling her, and she said, tell me something I don't know. And that was the encouragement to think, I have the support to do this. And I think the one thing that overriding all of this was, if I am happy, my children will be happy. And at the moment, I'm not. So how can I make my children happy if I'm not happy myself? And it might be the stupidest reason ever, but it's what got me through. That was the thing that got me through. And yeah, and I make the changes, and things happened, and oh gosh, there's a film in there probably somewhere.
Will you play yourself in the film?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I want Meryl Streep at least, but no. So where we were going with the question and the relevance of that was remind me that where we were with that question.
They were about, why are people still scared to come out?
Because you don't know. It's like leaping off a cliff.
Yeah.
You don't know how people are going to react. You don't know what changes it will make to your life. You don't know whether you will lose friends, whether you will lose family members.
Did you?
No, I didn't. I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. I know now, and part of what we do as Doncaster Pride, which is not about having a party in the park, part of the real serious work of Doncaster Pride, we get messages occasionally and often from young people. And we, it can be, I remember one particularly a few years ago, just in the run up to Christmas, 16-year-old boy, please help me, I am homeless. I've come out to my parents and they've thrown me out. It happens. So the fear is real. You don't know. You think you do. You think, and you can be surprised, you think that somebody who you believe to be supportive and might be an ally, but when it happens to them, and I've often said to people, someone comes out with a homophobic remark, and I've often been heard to say, I wonder how you would be if it was your child. Yeah. If your son or daughter came out to you, would you still share that same view? And you don't know.
Do you experience that every day, would you say, or multiple times a week at least, homophobia?
No, I don't think I do. It depends the situations that you put yourself in. Yeah. And I think it depends. I also think, anybody that knows me and probably wouldn't, because they know they'd get it back. But it is a thing. It happens. Yeah. Like I say, building up Pride, and there's people walking through the park shouting faggots at you while you're building the event up. Walking down the street, holding hands with my wife. Why shouldn't I? And people might make comments. It does still happen, yeah. Or people will roll the window down and shout something at you.
Measure of them, not you.
Yeah.
Interesting comment. It's not a question. It just says, I don't question or comment on here. I'm scared to offend.
Wow.
I think it's really powerful.
Yeah. And if I can reassure whoever said that, I understand. I understand why you're afraid to vocalise thoughts, opinions, feelings, ask questions, because I think the LGBT community have made it, and I think there's lots of other parts of society the same. There are things that we almost have made taboo. Yeah. Don't ask the question because you'll offend me if you do. I think it's a sad and sorry place to be. And I think the only way we can help to create a society where we are all seen as equal and we all have the same opportunities and we all have the same... We're treated in the same way, going back to the hotel receptionist, is to be open and to ask your questions and to And for the LGBT community, you know, call out from me to the LGBT community, be a little bit more tolerant of folk asking you questions.
Yeah, and I think you know, and you are awesome at it. You came up to me that day and you were like, let's just break it all down together, and we'll take. And I can remember I shared this story only last week. The very first time, and it's not that long ago. Working in HR, we interview people, and you have standard questions to get the conversation flowing. And I'm always genuinely interested in the whole person. So we'll always say, who's at home. Now, over the years, that questioning's got very vanilla. And, if I go back, I would have been really bad for it. I would have said to you, what does your husband do?
Yeah.
Terrible. So way back, and it is not that far back, I said to this lady, what does your husband do? And she looked at me and she went, my wife's a nurse. And I went, oh, you've got a wife. Oh, and it's really overzealous, really uncomfortable. and she looked at me, she went, yeah. I went, that's fantastic. You can imagine the size of the hole I was digging. Yeah, it's complicated and it's a mind. We try our best. We're going to move on.
Okay.
To the really thorny trans.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to fire some of these quick because I want us to get onto Pride. So, what is misgendering?
When you call someone by the wrong gender. So, if Alexis was to walk in here now, Alexis is a woman. She is a male to female, but she is a trans woman. Yeah. And if Alexis walked in here now and someone said, oh, he's here, that's misgendering.
That's misgendering. And so I check my learning and understanding. So a trans woman would have been born a man.
Yes.
The trans goes before than what they are identifying as now. And I would encourage anybody who is listening to that, you've got to go on Alexis Blake's Instagram. She is so raw and real. I have learned more in the last 72 hours from watching all her videos than I have. And she's got some awesome tips on there about washing your hair as well. I've been washing my hair wrong all this time. You're just meant to wash the roots and leave the rest. I mean, she's awesome. Right, so misgendering is
when you get it wrong. So sometimes people, when they are in the process of transitioning or when they are particularly maybe in the early stages, male to female, female to male, they might still have characteristics that make them look more like
Adam's apple.
Absolutely.
Facial
Alexis
hair.
will tell you all about Adam's apples and how there's very little you can do. The surgery you can do to but yeah. But if you refer to someone as she and it should be he, or he and it should be she, or she and it should be they. That's misgendering. If you do it, acknowledge it. Apologise.
Sorry.
Yeah. Acknowledge it. Say I'm so sorry, and move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Do men more commonly become women than women becoming men?
I don't know the statistics, but probably not. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's fine. You don't know.
No, I don't.
What's the difference between transgender and gender fluid?
Oh, okay. Transgender is someone who is his male becoming female or female becoming male. Gender fluid is someone who doesn't really identify or present as male or female in any way. They're fluid. It's not bisexual. It is just a fluidity of gender, and it's just someone who just is them. It's like you said, I'm just Jenny. Gender fluid is exactly as it says, just fluid.
Anti-gender / non-binary. What's the difference?
Okay. Anti-gender is someone who doesn't want to acknowledge either gender.
Okay.
And non-binary is someone who doesn't feel that they are one or the other.
You can understand. I know you can. Why it's complicated.
Well, do you know? Yes, because I'm thinking, as you're asking me these questions, I'm thinking, oh God, I don't really know. But do you know what? It is important to that person.
Yes.
It is who they
Absolutely.
are. It is their, in the same way as you identify as Layla, she,
Yep.
heterosexual woman. I identify as Jenny, lesbian,
Yeah.
queer, whatever. That's who I am. Gender fluid, gender neutral. They are all valid. They all
To
should
that
be
person.
allowed to be who to be that. The difficulty is for all of us that are not part of some of these more minority characteristics, actually understanding what they are. But Google them and you still probably won't understand.
You really won't, because I have, and it's a massive. Do the trans community really want pronouns being used?
Yes.
Yes.
That's probally where the driver
That's
comes
where
from.
it's coming from,
Yeah.
not the LGB.
No, it comes from the T side of the community.
You're going to have to pull on this one from your network and your friends and those around you. What's the most difficult part of physically transitioning?
I think the challenges around healthcare and access to health and access to the support that you need, both in terms of mental health support, in terms of physical support, because the health service is not necessarily geared up really very well to support hormone treatments, to support gender reassignment. And a lot of trans people feel stuck in a position where they want to transition, but they're not able to do it privately. And the NHS doesn't support that. And there's a whole big argument in there about whether or not the NHS should support gender realignment surgery.
Let's not go that
No.
one. We can't.
But ultimately, if you have a physical issue that requires the NHS to support you to recover from that, then it is the same thing. And gender dysphoria is a real thing, and people require a lot of support. So I would say, although I haven't had that question, but the observation of the trans people that I know is access to good advice, access to healthcare, and access to the pathway that you need to go on to help you with that transition journey. Because when you made that decision in your head that that's the way you're going, if you can't get that, then mental health becomes a real issue.
Gender dysphoria, is that when you don't identify as the gender you were born?
Yeah.
I'm learning.
You are?
Thanks. I think I did good there. This one's too long, I think, to answer in its entirety. So I want the first bit. The question as it's written is, what are the different stages of transitioning your gender? What happens first?
It really does depend on the individual. Some people decide not to transition physically. Some people will wear the makeup, and the wig, or as a woman transitioning to a man, they may decide that they want to bind their breasts so they appear flat-chested. Yep. They may decide that they want to dress in men's clothes, etc., cut their hair differently or whatever. That's the first bit. In terms of someone who wants to transition, the first bit is the process of actually going through living as the other gender.
And if you wanted, I guess, if you were going to physically transition, the medical professional or whoever you would ask you first to live that life.
Yes, you have to live.
You
have to be able, And there's all sorts of things around changing your gender on your passport and all those sorts of things that come further down the line. But the first part is you have to live as. So if I wanted to transition, I wanted to become a man, I would have to live as a man for a period of time. And then you undergo all sorts of counselling and things like that. Because, of course, a lot of what is happening here is irreversible. Yeah. You know, it is irreversible. So you really don't want to be going into this.
You once said to me about trans as well. I remember one of our first conversations. It's a physical transition, but your brain doesn't change.
No, it doesn't.
Nobody does anything to your brain.
No. And this comes back to that conversation we were having about the difference between sexuality and gender. Yeah. When someone feels that they're in the wrong gender, they're the wrong gender, they were born in the wrong skin. Yeah. So there's nothing to do with their sexuality, because in their mind you might have. So Alexis, yeah, I'm sorry, Alexis, we're referring to you all the time.
You were meant to be here.
So Alexis identified as a gay man.
Yeah.
And has a boyfriend, a fiance. Alexis is now transitioning to become a female, and is still in a relationship with Liam. So, does that mean that Liam and Alexis are now a straight couple? Well, Liam was a gay man. Matt is a perfect example of you love the person.
So I'm all over Alexis's socials now because I'm the biggest fan. And then obviously it takes you to Liam's.
Yeah.
Because I'm genuinely interested. In absolute honesty, and if she was sat in front of me, I would have said exactly the same. And when I'm blessed to meet her, I will. My head went there. Right, born man, gay man, fine. Liam, gay relationship, get it. Transition. And then I'm like, oh, Liam. And when you were telling me, I'm like, oh no, poor Liam. And then I got to Liam's Instagram, and if I told you I cried when I read it, I'm not exaggerating. He just said, there's a picture of them both, and he just put, my purpose on this world is to make this woman happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm a sucker for a love story, but that's all it is. It doesn't matter what.
You love the person, you don't, it's not the gender.
Yeah.
The gender is not important. And they were in a loving relationship, and they still are. And this is the difference between sexuality and gender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Pride.
Okay.
Let me tell you this story. So I'm in the car this morning. I'm blessed every morning. I get to take my little boy to school. 11 years old, so inquisitive age. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're driving along. We're like, right, what we got on today? What have you got on? What lessons have you got? Right, Mummy, what are you doing today? I'm going to face into this one. So I said, oh, right, well, I'll tell you what I'm doing today. I said, you know what pride is? And he went really quiet, and he went, like what you tell me to be with my homework. So put all my effort in so that I'm proud of the work. Yes, your definition of pride is right. I said, but there's another world of pride. I said, do you know about LGBTQ? Yeah. They're all the different people. And I said, yeah, it's a little bit different. So pride and the LGBT so same thing though. So they're proud. Proud, like they're not embarrassed. And I just thought, mic drop.
Yeah.
Jenny, our job's done.
That's it. That's it.
So just the questions I've got on pride, and he's dead blood. What's pride all about?
Okay. We'll cast your mind back. Well, many people won't be able to remember that far. I'll take you on a journey back in time. New York, back end of the 60s, 1969, June. Gay venues, bars, pubs, clubs, coffee shops, bookshops, whatever. Gay's been a thing forever. You go back to ancient history, go back to ancient Greeks and Romans. It was any idea why a lot of their pottery's got pictures of men with no clothes on, and cherubs and women with laying
Very
around.
generous sizes as well, aren't they? Yeah.
Sexuality was in many cultures centuries ago. Sexuality was not a thing, and we've all heard stories of kings and queens and noble folk having male and female attendants over years. Gay's been a thing forever. Yeah. As long as there've been men and women on this planet, and the animal kingdom, there are animals that have same-sex relationships. It's not unusual. So, however, we'd gotten uptight in the world about people's sexuality and oppression. So we're in New York, we're in 1969, there were lots of gay venues, but regularly those gay venues were raided by the police. But the police were kind of okay back then, because what they used to do is they used to tip off the owners of some of the bars, we're coming out on a raid tonight, make sure all the people are not in. And
Because it was illegal?
Yeah, it was illegal.
To be gay?
Yes. And was, till I'll amaze you in a minute with some details. But so it was illegal. Homosexuality was illegal. It was criminal. It was made illegal. And
worldwide or just in America?
Well, probably mainly worldwide. It's certainly in the UK as well. Right. Homosexuality was illegal. Yep. It was only the repeal of these laws that made it, and the age of consent And all sorts of things has changed over years. And there was, until very recently, there was a disparity in the age of consent. Straight couples' age of consent, gay couples' age of consent was very different.
What was it?
It was 21, it came down to 18, and it was very different for various reasons, and we've gone on a journey as a society. So the raids would happen regularly in the gay venues in New York, and the gay community and lots of trans women. So these are male to female trans women. Lots and lots of them were a little bit fed up of every couple
Being
of
in the
weeks
middle of your night out and it getting raided.
being chucked in the back of a van, being arrested, taken to the police station, being processed and what have you. So they decided on this one particular night, for no apparent reason and not planned in advance, they decided to revolt. And they fought back. And that is the thing called the Stonewall Riots. And that's where the whole thing started. Stonewall Riots were the start of what we would refer to as the modern gay liberation movement. 12 months later, June, New York, the first Gay Pride. Now, we don't call it Gay Pride anymore. We call it Pride. Because if we call it Gay Pride, that excludes the trans community. Yeah? So we call it Pride. So the first Gay Pride in New York, 12 months later, as an anniversary. And what they did, absolutely, your son's right. They were proud of who they were. They wanted to stand up and they wanted to say, some of the slogans are ace. We're here, we're queer. Those sorts of things. Let us be us. Let us live our lives. We don't want to hurt anybody. Just let us be and let us get on with it. And then very shortly after that, following year, the first Pride in the UK was in London.
So that would have been
72. So it's not that long ago.
It's not that long ago, is it?
It isn't that long ago. I was on this earth. I was born in the 60s. So, it's not that long ago that the community started to stand up for itself and started to say, we want our rights. We want to be treated equally. And they went from protesting, and over a period of time, for various reasons, the protests led to changes in legislation. And Pride then, whilst it is still a protest, some people ask the question, is it a celebration or a protest? It's both. For me, while ever there is one person in the world that cannot be themselves because of their sexuality or gender, absolutely. So it is still a protest, but we protest in different ways now. We're not protesting for changes in law. The law in this country protects, not so great for trans folk, but the law in this country protects, and particularly in the workplace and what have you, we have laws that are passed that protect and allow us to be who we are. What we need to do is bring people up to the level of that. So that's the history of Pride. And it is a celebration. It is a celebration of culture and history and who we are and who went before us and all the people who fought for the rights we have today. Doncaster we bid for and won the opportunity to be host city for UK Pride.
Which is a big thing, right?
It is. It's a big thing. There are about 260 prides in the UK. And we are all part of an organisation called the UK Pride Organisers Network. And all of the members of that Pride Network every year choose a Pride to be host city. So you're chosen by your peers. So it's important. Yeah. And I think Doncaster's been on a journey, and you say Doncaster Pride, you think, well, now a city, but a medium-sized town in the north of England with all its
heritage and its roots.
Yeah. And why has Doncaster got a Pride that has become so successful? And I think because it was the right time, the right place, and it's grown in the right way, and it has become a beacon of inclusion. It's not about just about the LGBT community. It is, and very openly goes out there and says, whoever you are, whatever you believe, whatever the colour of your skin, whatever your age, whatever, Pride is for you. Come and be you.
When?
10th of August.
Where?
Townfield.
And we are super proud and excited as Genuit Group to be able to support the event and to be true allies of the community. And we will be, what have we got? We've got the Pride Village.
Yeah. The Pride Village is a new concept for 2024. We will have a lot of visitors from other prides. And one of the things we're trying to do with this year's Pride event is we are celebrating volunteers, because with the exception of some of the bigger prides, the ones everyone's heard of, Brighton and London and Manchester, they're all commercial businesses. They have employees, they have staff. All of the rest of the prides in the country, some 250 or so, are all run by volunteers. All people like me and the team that work with me. We have day jobs, we have lives, we busy people, and we volunteer and we put the hours in and we deliver the events. And one of the legacy projects for us as Doncaster Pride for 2024, our host city year, was to celebrate volunteers. So we will be featuring every single pride in the UK in our parade. Obviously, not everybody's going to travel and be here. A lot of them are, but if they're not, they'll be represented. So our parade will include representatives of every pride.
And the reason we got the village is because, yes, you know, you look at Polypipe, its home is Doncaster. The Genuit Group spans far and wide, and it was very important for us to be representative of our workforce. You know, we're in Ireland, we're in the Middle East, we're down in Wales, we're everywhere. And to that point, that in that Pride Village will be the representations from prides across the country. You know, everybody's going to have a moment. They're going to come together. We are super proud to be able to support your event.
It's great, you know, and Pride wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for the generosity of the business community. Because when we first started, we were in a time where we could apply for grant funding to deliver things. There's little pots of money here and there. And we started out 2007, we had a budget of £1,500 to deliver the event.
But it didn't go very far.
And it was a small event, but it was a moment in time. The first Pride in South Yorkshire, no one had ever done one before. And we've grown and developed since, and the budget now is eye-watering. And there isn't that grant funding out there really now anymore. So what we've been able to do is give businesses the opportunity to get involved. And whilst there's a fine line between becoming too commercial and having your sponsors dictate the way in which they want your Pride event to run, what we've done is we've kept our sponsorships to we're friends with our sponsors.
Yeah.
We have a relationship with all our sponsors. We work to achieve what they want to achieve from it, and at the same time, it allows us to deliver Pride.
I've got one last question, but
Okay.
I want to, first of all, thank you. It's a heartfelt thank you from me for keeping me safe, navigating these questions, for giving our employees an opportunity to ask all the questions. You really have been wonderful. I think our friendship that is Doncaster Pride and Genuit Group, I see it flourishing and growing, a long may it be. The last question, which I think is pretty awesome from whoever wrote it, if you could click your fingers and change one thing about human behaviour, what would it be?
I think it's something that you said earlier. Just be a bit kinder. Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Treat people the way you want to be treated yourself. We're not all the same. Does it matter?
Does it matter?